to take us through the session, and then we will get into the actual presentations. Thank you, Henry.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to welcome you to this lightning session. How is the IATI community analyzing and using data? As you already know, one of the key goals of IATI is to promote transparency and accountability. And a key aspect of that work is how we use the data. Nigeria, for example, we are a clear leader how we are using IATI data. And in the course of the session, we'll be sharing a presentation on how the data is used in Nigeria. But today, we will hear from a range of speakers on how they are also using data in their respective ways, and also organizations, how they are using data to promote greater collaboration among stakeholders. And I think it will be a very exciting time for everyone. Thank you very much, Anand.
So we have the list of speakers here already. I will invite Ali to start off. You can put on your headsets. It would be in French. This is the timer.
4 minutes. Okay. C'est bon pour tout le monde? Bonjour, merci beaucoup pour votre attention. Moi, c'est Alissa Lebichara. Je suis économiste en charge de la transparence budgétaire au sein de l'Observatoire tchadien des finances publiques, qui est une structure qui appartient au ministère des Finances et du Budget du Tchad. Donc, brièvement, nous allons revenir ce matin par rapport à notre relation avec l'IATI. Avant de revenir à cela, peut-être un petit mot sur l'Observatoire tchadien des finances publiques et les missions qu'elle a à exercer. L'Observatoire tchadien des finances publiques est une structure sous le ministère des Finances et du Budget et au sein de la Direction générale du budget en charge de la préparation, la Direction générale du budget qui est en charge de la préparation de la loi de finances. Donc, c'est une structure qui ambitionne de promouvoir la transparence dans la gestion des finances publiques. Pour faire cela, il faut dire qu'avant l'Observatoire tchadien des finances publiques, nous n'avons pas une structure dédiée à la diffusion d'informations relatives aux données publiques, notamment les données financières. Donc, c'est une première qui a été faite en 2017. Donc, nous avons pour mission de collecter et de diffuser les informations, les données relatives aux finances publiques, de mettre à la disposition du public, des médias, le chiffrage exact sur les impacts budgétaires et des politiques publiques. Nous avons un calendrier de diffusion d'informations, c'est-à-dire que lorsqu'une loi de finances est adoptée au niveau de l'Assemblée nationale, nous nous chargeons de le diffuser tout de suite après son adoption à l'Assemblée nationale. Donc, il faut, comme je l'ai dit, c'est une structure qui est vraiment en charge de la promotion de la transparence et de la bonne gouvernance. Donc, au-delà de la diffusion des données budgétaires, nous travaillons à vulgariser, à faire de la transparence, c'est-à-dire à mettre de la transparence dans toutes les actions au niveau des finances publiques. Donc, comment nous avons procédé à un partenariat avec l'IATI? Dans notre législation, la loi des finances relative à la loi des finances, la LOLF, la loi organique relative aux lois des finances, nous avons une disposition législative qui impose au gouvernement de diffuser toutes les informations relatives au-delà de ce qui s'est fait sur les ressources du pays, de toutes les informations relatives au financement provenant de restes du monde. C'est pourquoi nous avons cette exigence législative à diffuser les informations relatives au financement international. Et au-delà de cela, nous avons un code de transparence et de la bonne gouvernance dans la gestion des finances publiques qui impose à ce que les données financières soient mises à la disposition du grand public. Donc, ces deux dispositions sont les soubassements vraiment juridiques de ce qu'on fait dans la promotion de la transparence budgétaire et financière. Donc, en ce qui concerne l'IATI, nous avons initié à partir de 2019 la rédaction et la publication d'un rapport sur le financement international. Il faut dire qu'avant qu'on découvre la base de données IATI, nous n'avons pas une base de données qui prend en compte une large... It's over?
Sorry.
OK, just une minute. OK. Donc, nous collaborons avec l'IATI depuis 2019 et que depuis 2019 qu'on publie un rapport sur le financement international. Il faut dire que quand on avait commencé à travailler avec l'IATI, nous n'avons pas un accès facile à la base de données et c'est pourquoi c'est le lieu de remercier le secrétariat de l'IATI. J'ai le nom de Sarah, de Alex, des autres collègues de l'IATI qui ont vraiment été présents pour nous. Pour peut-être comme vous tous, nous avons aussi des questions, c'est-à-dire des préoccupations par rapport à la qualité des données. C'est pourquoi ils ont été présents tout le temps pour nous donner des réponses à nos préoccupations. Aussi, nous mettons un accent particulier en tant que gouvernement de répartition géographique de l'aide pour savoir quel argent va dans les différentes provinces du pays. Donc, la mise en place de CDFD nous a beaucoup facilité et que notre compréhension a été plus facile après la mise en œuvre de cet outil. Donc, je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ali. Gary, what next? I'll just request the presenters again. It is a bit awkward for us to interrupt you and tell you that it's 4 minutes. So if you can, try to wrap it up within 4 minutes. Thank you so much.
I turn it on. Okay. My name's Gary Forster. I'm the CEO of Publish What You Fund. We're the global campaign for aid transparency. And I'm going to talk to you about how we use IATI data to make aid better, specifically using the case of USAID's localization approach. So we're an advocacy and research organization. We produce the Aid Transparency Index and the DFI Transparency Index, and we do research on issues like climate, women's economic empowerment, localization. We always endeavor to use IATI data first and then feed back any issues we find with the data. And we use that data to produce advocacy messages for decision makers to try and improve aid effectiveness. I would say our team probably looks at more data across more donors and implementers than anyone else. I'm happy to be challenged on that. So we're all here for development effectiveness. Obviously, this is the IATI community exchange, but what we're hoping is that better aid transparency, better availability of data will empower decision makers to improve the way that aid works. So USAID recently announced that they want 25% of their assistance to go directly to local partners by 2025. And then a second goal relating to 50% of their funding being led by local communities. We're going to focus on the first goal. More aid going to local partners is extremely important. It's a pillar of development effectiveness. I think we can all agree it's the right thing to do. At the moment, I should say well, you'll see the data in a minute, sorry. We used IATI data. USAID publishes pretty good IATI data. We used Mark's tool, thank you very much, Mark, to build a data set across 10 countries. And we then added secondary research to that data. So this is a different way of us using IATI. We used it to build a data set, and then we added lots of other rich data to the side to help with our analysis. if you're going to measure something like 25%, you need a numerator and a denominator. You need to talk about what are you defining as local. USAID are going to use a numerator, a definition that we don't think is very good or credible, and we are therefore proposing our own definition. So, for example, we think that organizations should be managed and governed by nationals of the country in order to be considered local. That conflicts with what USAID are going to do. There's the detail on the screen of the differences between our two definitions. The other thing you need to do when you're measuring something as a percentage is you need to talk about what is the total amount that you're looking at and you're taking that percentage from. We are looking at a much broader pot of USAID spending across UN agencies, across global programs, across academia, private sector, and NGOs, whereas USAID are planning to just look at NGOs, the private sector, and academia, and excluding the UN. This is all very complicated. We've spent 6 months on this. There's loads of research on our website, but the main difference is this chart. So the way that USAID measure localization, or planning to measure localization, basically inflates their achievements significantly. If you look at the bottom line, you'll see that for 10 countries, they think they're going to be achieving 11%. We think they're achieving 5.7%. That means it's going to be much easier for them to hit their target. So what does this mean? Ignore the top 3 points because we are desperately running out of time. The bottom point, scaled up across all of USAID's country programs, they would need to give an additional $1.43 billion per year to local organizations to reach 25% if they used our approach to measure localization. Okay, we've done all this work using IATI data. It's their data. We've provided that data to decision makers in Congress. We've provided it at congressional hearings, and USAID is now under pressure to change their approach to align it with ours. We've created Elma's created an amazing dashboard, and you can access the data and you can play with it there to use your own definitions. I need to go.
Thank you, Gary. Jean-Marie? Would it be in French?
Oui, in French.
Yeah. Could we have the headsets on again?
Bonjour à tous. Alors donc, je vais faire juste une petite présentation sur comment au Burkina Faso nous utilisons les données sur l'aide sur IATI pour publier notre rapport sur la coopération. Donc, véritablement, l'utilisation des données de IATI entre dans le cadre de la publication du rapport sur la coopération au développement que nous produisons chaque année depuis 1998. Et il est structuré autour donc de 4 grands points. C'est d'abord la situation socio-économique du Burkina Faso. Ensuite, on analyse la coordination et l'efficacité de l'aide publique au Burkina Faso. Et le troisième point, la troisième section analyse le profil de l'aide publique. Et enfin, la quatrième partie fait une étude spécifique. Et par exemple, pour l'année passée, l'étude a concerné comment la coopération au développement a accompagné le pays à prendre en charge donc la problématique de la COVID-19. Donc, en réalité, nous utilisons surtout donc les données de l'IATI dans le cadre de l'analyse de la, j'allais dire, de la coordination et de l'efficacité de l'aide publique au développement. Et il y a une certaine valeur ajoutée quand on regarde donc les données de l'IATI par rapport donc aux données nationales. Il y a un certain nombre de critères, par exemple, les engagements ne sont pas correctement captés par les données nationales, alors qu'au niveau de l'IATI, nous sentons véritablement un effort. Et il y a aussi les dépenses et même la trimestrielle. Le fait de disposer des données de façon trimestrielle constitue une valeur ajoutée. Malheureusement, nous ne pouvons pas utiliser correctement. Donc, il y a des possibilités d'analyse, mais nous ne pouvons pas les utiliser correctement. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y a un certain gap que nous voyons entre les données de l'IATI et les données donc, collectées au niveau national. Et ce gap est en faveur donc, des données nationales. Par exemple, sur une série de 5 ans, nous voyons que le gap est autour de 27%. Autour de 27%. Ce qui quand même est assez significatif et donc on est obligé donc de se pencher sur beaucoup plus les données nationales que les données de l'IATI. Par contre, nous utilisons les données de l'IATI comme je l'ai dit, pour analyser l'efficacité, parce qu'un élément important de l'efficacité, c'est d'abord la maîtrise de l'information. S'il y a une différence par rapport aux mêmes sources de données, ça signifie qu'il y a une problématique donc d'efficacité de la coopération qui est posée. Et en ce moment, c'est un moyen de pression pour le gouvernement, le fait donc de présenter ces gaps-là dans l'analyse donc sur l'efficacité de la coopération au développement. Donc, c'est vraiment un instrument assez puissant pour nous permettre donc d'arriver à tasser un peu justement ces écarts-là. Alors, mais nous pensons qu'il y a un challenge commun entre IATI et bien sûr au niveau national. D'abord, quand on regarde donc les données de l'IATI, il y a un effort véritablement à faire pour capter les institutions au niveau régional. Par exemple, la BOAD n'est pas encore, les données de la BOAD ne sont pas captées, les données, par exemple, de la BIDC, qui sont des banques régionales. Quand on regarde aussi les institutions arabes, nous avions la possibilité de capter les informations, mais au niveau donc de l'IATI, il n'y a pas, pour le moment, cet effort n'est pas fait. Je me réjouis qu'un certain nombre de partenaires soient déjà associés à cette initiative-là. Et bon, la coopération sud-sud constitue quand même un challenge et nous pensons que véritablement un effort doit être fait ensemble pour pouvoir relever. Et enfin, la double comptabilisation résultant surtout des ONG. Voilà donc les challenges communs que nous avions à relever ensemble. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much. One of you can just stand here. Sorry for the awkwardness.
Hello, can I go ahead?
Yeah, so Romy, go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Romy. I'm from the Land Portal Foundation, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our projects, land projects database, which, as the name indicates, is focusing on land governance projects. And I'm going to tell you a little bit how we are planning to use IATI data. First of all, our database, before talking about our database, I have to talk about another one. And it started with a group of donors back in 2014, called the Global Donor Working Group on Land. They were asking themselves, who's doing what, where, how much is invested in land governance. They wanted to show the scope of the land interventions to justify continued funding to land activities, but also to improve coordination between themselves. But the model that they were adopting back then, it was very much a tailored one. It was disconnected from other development data initiatives, and the data was also being added manually in a system that is separate from their own internal system. So soon it became clear that there was very low capacity within this group of focal points to keep this database up to date. Next, please. And here we come to the initiative that we have right now, which is basically to migrate the functions and the data from this tailored donors map that I'm calling here for simplicity into our land projects database, which is situated within the land portal. So in the first phase, we are going to be using the tailored data from the donors map, but also the IATI data. And in the future, we plan to the most part of it only using IATI data. Because of very interesting conversations in the other session yesterday, we are now also trying to think of expanding even and considering other data sources like South-South cooperation, for example, other types of non-ODA data, since what we want to give here is a picture of land governance initiatives around the world. So our model is avoiding duplication now with reporting efforts by donors, since they anyways have to report to IATI. And because of that, allowing also for more automated data harvest. And we will continue to provide the curation of these data sets. Next, please. and you can go ahead. What we have done so far is we have already selected data from IATI. We managed to get over 2,000 records using a list of 32 keywords, focusing on land issues. And we are also considering these over 1,000 projects that we had originally in the donors map. Go ahead, please. We are right now in the curation phase, and we are dealing with a spreadsheet of over 3,000 records, trying to find and eliminate duplicates, checking for thematic relevance and other. Oh, sorry, I have to stop talking.
Romy, you have 30 more
Consultancy.
seconds. I think there was a technical glitch. Sorry about that.
Okay. I didn't see the counter, so. Okay, so yes, we are in this curation phase, trying to also check for the thematic relevance of the projects we harvested, particularly from IATI, filling any data gaps, dealing with languages, currencies, etc. And finally, you can go ahead. We'll be in the ingestion phase. Next slide, please. Yes, there. And with the ingestion, we will also have more rounds of feedback from the donors that are key partners with us in this initiative, this group of donors, the Global Donor Working Group on Land. We'll also make sure that we have all open data standards that are following these standards and developing also a maintenance plan. I have heard a lot about duplication challenges that you guys were discussing. So I would be very curious if anyone has had any particular duplication challenge or one story, if you can, and how you address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Romy. Moving on, Henry. Yeah.
Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, just to give you a little bit of a background, Nigeria joined IATI in 2015 after hearing about the initiative in Community of Practice event in Kenya. And but before joining IATI, the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning has an aid information management system, which was given to the ministry as part of a package of support from UNDP. And the DAD was intended to enable efficient aid coordination along the lines of the broad parameters of Accra, Paris Declaration, Busan, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. Next slide. Now, the objectives of establishing the DAD was to enable the development partners to report directly into the system and also enable the ministry to obtain comprehensive and accurate up-to-date aid data in the country, as well as identify the geographical spread of these projects. As you know, Nigeria has different regions. So we want to know the kind of donor interventions that are going to both the federal and the subnational levels. Next slide. However, we had some challenges with that system. And the key challenge was that there was poor quality of data, having incomplete, unspecified data, and underutilization of the system by our donors. So what that meant is that the data cannot be used, and we cannot rely on the data, and the demand for data by our stakeholders is not met. Based on these challenges, we now had to sort a way out, and that way out was to now be using IATI data. Next slide. Now, we are currently using IATI data as our official source of aid information data alongside the Development Assistance Database. We use IATI data to produce the Annual Development Cooperation Report. We furnish the Central Bank of Nigeria with data for their use for the computation of balance of payments. We also furnish the Parliament with data on external inflows to the country. But however, before using the data, we collaborate with the IT Secretariat, so they provide some support to us, and many thanks to Sarah and Anna for their good work in supporting Nigeria. just to show you as an example of the variance between the data that we have in IATI and in the country development and in the country reporting system, which is the DAT. Move to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the example of the development cooperation report we produced in 2021. And you can see that in IATI, we had 118 organizations reporting, while in the DAT, only 17 organizations reported in the DAT in 2021. So you can see that the data in the DAT is not comprehensive enough, but with IATI, we have more comprehensive data. And with this, we can be able to satisfy our stakeholders in country, like the parliament, the central bank, the office of the accountant general, the budget office for the medium-term expenditure framework. So IATI has been very, very useful to us, and Nigeria will continue to remain a clear leader in using IATI. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. You made it in time. Can I invite Cecilia?
Is it on? Yes, okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here today. My name is Cecilia Wallen with Data for Development. Together with the Zimmerman tech team, we've developed an AIDA platform. AIDA is for Aid Information Data Analytics. The purpose of AIDA is threefold. You can use it for publishing, you can use it to validate your IATI data, and you can use it to visualize your data. The publishing with AIDA is based on a spreadsheet system where you fill in your data. AIDA also includes a quite intuitive interface for uploading. It automatically validates your IATI file, and it offers direct publication to the IATI registry. Here is what it looks like. You choose to either locally upload your files. You can connect it to the Google Drive if that's where you store your files. Once you've uploaded them, this is the view. It converts your files into the XML file. Hopefully, if you've done it correctly, it will give you a valid file. If not, AIDA also provides assistance in identifying and solving any errors. I want to give one example of how you can use the visualization features of AIDA also. I believe this to be specifically relevant for partnerships, if you're in an alliance, a consortium, or if you're a donor who want to check on your partner countries, your partner organizations. We have a bookmark and data alert feature that allows you to stay up to date with what where your money's going with partner activities. It's fairly simple. You can search for the activity ID, or you can search for an organization. You bookmark it, where I put a little arrow too, so you can see where it goes. Once you've bookmarked the activity, it ends up in your bookmarks page, where you can, second step is to activate the data alerts, which leads us to the third step. So once the data alerts are activated, what you need to do is essentially sit back, relax, and await your weekly email with updates on any of the pages you have bookmarked. So this can then be used. The example here is to keep track of any partner activities, but you can also use it for insights on donor activities, whatever happens in a sector you're interested in, or a specific country or region that you're interested in. And that is it for me. Well below my time limit.
Thank you so much. That was great. Now we shall go back online to Fidel. Fidel, are you?
Alors, je peux aller? Oui, Fidèle, oui, je suis Fidèle de la PGI RD Congo. Alors, je voudrais un peu partager avec vous. Vous me suivez, j'espère?
Oui.
Vous me suivez? Allô?
Oui. Sorry, that's
Ok.
all I speak. S'il vous plaît.
Oui, je peux aller?
Allez.
OK. Alors, je vais partager un peu l'expérience de l'IATI par rapport aux données utilisées par la RD Congo. Alors, diapo suivant. Oh là là. Je n'ai que 5 minutes. Non. Mais les diapos qui étaient là, c'est les diapos les dieux. Hein? Est-ce qu'ils vont voir ça? Alors, je vous montre un peu la contribution de données de l'IATI et de financement extérieur par rapport aux appuis extérieurs. Alors, pour ne pas prendre trop du temps, vous avez un tableau là qui vous montre à peu près comment les données de partenaires vont beaucoup influencer nos programmes qui sont financés par la RD Congo. Nous venons de mettre en place maintenant un programme sur le programme d'investissement pour les 5 ans à venir. Vous allez voir que les financements extérieurs prennent à peu près 8%. Donc, c'est pour dire que les financements extérieurs sont très importants pour nous. Alors, je vous donne ici, par exemple, un aperçu sur la contribution des financements extérieurs dans le budget de l'État en termes de pourcentage. Vous allez vous rendre compte qu'en 2014, les financements extérieurs avaient contribué seulement à 26%, tandis qu'en 2017, on était arrivé à 37%, et actuellement, en 2022, nous ne sommes qu'à 29%. Pourquoi ce taux-là varie? Ça varie parce qu'on ne capte pas à jour les données pour les mettre dans le budget de l'État. Donc, c'est notre grande difficulté, raison pour laquelle nous comptons beaucoup sur les données de l'IATI, surtout en termes de prévision. Alors, pour vous donner une image, on a tiré les données de l'IATI, on voulait les comparer par rapport aux données qui sont captées localement, qui sont fournies par les partenaires. Vous allez vous rendre compte que les données des partenaires, ceux qui sont fournis localement, sont parfois inférieures par rapport à ce qui est publié à l'IATI. Et il arrive des fois où les données de la PGI sont supérieures aux données des partenaires. C'est là notre grande difficulté. On n'arrive pas à vraiment prendre en compte les données de l'IATI, surtout en termes de décaissement. Parce que si les décaissements sont supérieurs au niveau local et que l'IATI a publié davantage, on aura des problèmes pour comment justifier ces données-là auprès du Parlement. C'est ça notre grande difficulté pour utiliser les données de l'IATI. Mais par contre, ces données nous servent quand même pour prendre les engagements. Parce qu'ici, au pays, on capte difficilement les engagements pour les années N+1. Or, dans l'IATI, on a vu qu'il y a des prévisions qui sont allées jusqu'en 2029. Donc, c'est très riche du côté de l'IATI. Donc, on peut s'en servir pour ne fût-ce que prendre les engagements qui sont postés par les bailleurs au niveau de l'IATI. Mais alors, le problème est qu'on n'a pas les mêmes intitulés. Les intitulés qui sont à l'IATI diffèrent de temps à autre avec les intitulés qui sont fournis localement par les points focaux des bailleurs. Donc, ça nous pose un peu de problème, mais on a une chance par rapport à la Banque mondiale et à la BAD. Les projets qui sont fournis par la BAD, par l'IATI, on a les mêmes intitulés que ceux qu'on a fournis localement. Donc là, c'est facile pour nous de faire la relation, de prendre les données de l'IATI et les correspondre aux données de la PGI, parce qu'on a les mêmes intitulés et ça va nous servir pour commencer à capter prochainement les engagements. Alors maintenant, je voudrais savoir, pour me limiter là, je voudrais savoir comment l'IATI peut nous aider à assurer un peu la cohérence entre les données captées localement et ceux qui sont postés par les partenaires. Et puis de deux, est-ce qu'on ne peut pas avoir la localisation par rapport aux données qui sont publiées par l'IATI? Jusque-là, tous les projets sont centrés au niveau du pays, mais la localisation n'est pas là. Donc, vous voyez qu'on a du mal à travailler pour trouver ne fût-ce que la localisation des projets qui sont postés par l'IATI. Voilà, merci.
Merci beaucoup. That's a little more of French from my side. Kwaku? Yeah.
Right. All right. My name is Kweku Entry. I'm from the African Open Data. an internet research foundation. We're a CSO which operates in open data, internet governance, and a whole lot of geospatial data. So basically, I'm just going to have 3 points or 4. The contextualizing open data. Our work mainly works along open data across spheres, and basically what we've seen is that when you have you look at data, people look at it as abstract, very high level. Executives and organizations also see it as very, high level for the top level people to be able to see it. So there's a need to have high and low level practical observation. There's a need for capacity development to be able to build the capacity to know data, spread data, train people on data, and also how to publish data. And access to the technology becomes very difficult because coming from our context in Africa as a developing area, the tools, internet connectivity, network connectivity is important. And also utilizing the data which is being gathered, be published, and reporting back to the institutions is very important. So that's why we must walk the talk and supporting not just IATI, but also open data initiatives. What we do is that we, in our initiatives to support the open data, we have engaged in collaborative across different initiatives. So we have been part of the African Open Data Conference. We also hosted our own open data and geospatial data, as well as in internet governance, and part of what we do in agric and open data, which we did as a special policy on that in our agric sector. And also hosting geospatial data and also agricultural data hackathons, and part of other Earth observation initiatives. But what we have been doing now is that we are bringing the communities together and in trying to leverage and strengthen ourselves, and also making the awareness known. We had one event just last week in which we brought different perspectives together, in which even some didn't even know that Ghana had an open data portal, even government institutions, and they were happy that we brought them together and they are talking about it. And basically one of our main champions now is what we're doing in what we call the African Community Internet Program, in which we have a what we call off-grid device, in which you can have a local cloud on it. You can deploy this just like a base station, but it's in a backpack. And we're doing this together with Syracuse University, in which we can give internet connectivity, which you can connect whatever devices where you are, remote, offline. It has solar panels, so you don't really need a grid to connect. And basically, we're happy to collaborate and have some of these initiatives as part of our open data, and also supporting IATI in their work. And we're hoping to talk about it. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ishak Anyale from Sierra Leone. I'm from the Ministry of Plan and Economic Development in the Department of Development Assistance Coordination Office. As a department, we are responsible for external mobilization of revenue to promote transparency, accountability, and ownership. We annually produce our development assistance reports. But I have to make use of the advantage of what my colleague from Nigeria did, because our primary source of data collection is the Development Assistance Database, which is the DAD. He has highlighted the challenges that we are encountering presently with the DAD. The DAD is absolute and presently needs an upgrade. Therefore, we have looked for another alternative where we could get data. So this is an outline of my presentation. First, the use of the IATI data, the challenges and recommendations. How do we use the IATI data as a country to produce the development assistance reports? We use the IATI data to actually analyze areas where development partners are supporting highly and those areas they are not supporting highly. That is to know exactly the oversubscribed and undersubscribed sectors of development. We use the IATI data to advise or to check the extent of which development partners are supporting the government priorities. This government, actually, we have 8 national clusters that was developed, and it will end this 2023. Therefore, we use the data we get in our development assistance report to know exactly if donor partners are meeting the national priorities of the government. And we use IATI data to actually analyze the channel of support, and as well as to predict, because we have not been analyzing or performance of these donors because the DAD will not provide any M&E tool for us to analyze the performance of this donor. But with the help of IATI, we have started analyzing the performance of these donors. It was even because of this use of this IATI that we were able to actually meet donor partners so that we engage them in portfolio review. Now, we have the multilateral project department in the Ministry of Finance. For the non-resident donor partners, we use the IATI CDF-D data. These out of the approximately 899 development aid flow we have in our country, we collected this one from the IATI portal. Now, this is the aid predictability of the donors. Now, this one is a forward-looking data that we'll be able to use to analyze the performance of these donors. For instance, these are the commitments of these donors that we have. If these donors we have here, this is what they have actually committed to do. If they meet this thing, if they meet the commitment, we'll be able to say, okay, this donor has performed. If they are not able to meet, then we'll see how best to engage them further in order for them to actually commit to show exactly what they will do. These are some of the challenges we have. Now, when you look at this, like the dashboard for Liberia, it will be able to integrate. But for the IATI data and that of our development assistance data, we will not be able to integrate these data. Now, the other thing we encounter is that the information provided by IATI, most of these IATI data we get, or from these non-resident partners, most of them we get, when we send this data to the multilateral department in the Ministry of Finance, they would say they don't be able to verify these things. Before we put anything into the report, we have to send this thing to the multilateral department so that they validate the data. Then at the same time again, before this CDF, later when we are checking the deporter, most of this data that we are not disaggregated. But with the upgrade of the CDFD, now most of this data have been has been upgraded and have been disaggregated. So the recommendations, even though these recommendations here are part of what as data users we recommended, we still advise that, more especially number 2, that the IATI Secretariat provide more training for what? For we the data users, so that we'll be able to actually have a better report for decision or for informed decision and policy making. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Gary, do you mind? Thanks. Okay, that was fast, intense. We have one question online for our colleagues from Chad and Burkina Faso. It's in French. Did we lose the question? Yeah. We did. Yeah. But I come to French. Yeah, that's the French version. I'll just quickly translate it to English. Do international cooperation reports contain information on reimbursable and non-reimbursable cooperation data?
Merci beaucoup, je vais commencer. Je ne sais pas exactement par quoi il signifie remboursable et non remboursable. Selon ma compréhension, peut-être c'est c'est-à-dire les dons et les dettes. dans notre rapport, nous intégrons les différents types de financement, c'est-à-dire ce qui concerne les dettes et les dons, en ce qui concerne le Tchad. Merci.
Merci bien pour la question. Oui, ma compréhension c'est la même. Hein. Il s'agit donc des dettes et des dons. Et effectivement, quand on regarde donc le rapport sur la coopération au développement, nous analysons la partie dons et la partie dette aussi donc de l'aide publique au développement. Mais une précision, l'aide a une définition, il faut qu'il y ait, j'allais dire, un don de libéralité, de la concessionnalité. Donc, quand la dette est carrément une dette de marché, là, ce n'est pas intégré dans le rapport sur la coopération au développement, puisque nous analysons l'aide publique au développement. Voilà. Mais maintenant, quand c'est il y a aussi un autre rapport qui analyse la dette publique. La dette publique, mais nous analysons l'aide publique au développement et dans la définition de l'aide publique, tout ce qui est, j'allais dire, prêt marchand ne sont pas intégrés. Voilà, merci bien.
Merci beaucoup.
Yeah, just to say that for us, we only look at grants and not loans. Yeah, so in that sense, we are not looking at reimbursables.
Okay. Any other questions for any of the panelists? We have space for just one. Yeah.
Thanks. I'm Chimvano from Malawi. My question is to the one who presented on the land project portal and the IADA. I wanted to find out on their mission and what value addition they are bringing to the IATI data, and also what are their targeted users. I'm seeing that I think globally there is a proliferation of systems. Can't we integrate and maybe just improve on the IATI, maybe improve on the functionalities of the IATI rather than coming up with different systems that are standalone? That's my question. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Romy, can you take that?
Yes, sure. Thank you. Thank you very much for your question. Indeed, there is IATI and there are so many other initiatives here. Now, I think this is something that we cannot completely exclude, the proliferation of all these other initiatives, because I think in the end, it is really about how do you support your users to make sense of this data. And I think each one has a role to play. While IATI is this big portal where donors are reporting to and aggregating all this data and storing all this data. And I think that the discussions here have shown that there are many issues with processing this data. So I feel that the initiatives like ours are coming to try to extract a portion of this data and provide some level of granularity, additional granularity. So in our case, for example, we are focusing on land projects, and the data we are using right now is a data that comes from another donors initiative, which was reporting separately than they were doing to IATI, even though at the same time they were also reporting to IATI. So indeed, there was a duplication there. So we are using this data from them, which they have stopped maintaining. But we are also now retrieving data from IATI, and we are trying to find a match there to eliminate these duplicates. But we feel that in the future, we will continue to do this because for us, the objectives, it is really to have an overview of what is being done on land governance issues around the world. So we cannot restrict ourselves, and as I'm increasingly understanding here, to specifically IATI data, because there are other data sets which are not yet in IATI, for example, South-South cooperation. So there you have also an added value to this objective. And our users is really a mix, but our target audience is really a lot of organizations and practitioners on the land sector, in particular in the Global South. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Romy. With that, we'll wrap up the session. Okay, one more question. Okay, there are too many questions. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. Yeah, let's go. We'll have 3 quick questions back to back, and then we'll go to the panel to answer.
Thank you very much. My name is Motai Ramgunu from Lesotho. My question goes to Sierra Leone on the aid predictability slide, whereby you are comparing 2022 and 2023. So I just want to confirm whether you managed to get the figures for the commitments in our data, because I've realized that you said that the source is the IATI. And also whether those amount you called the commitments were referred to as the budget from the IATI data. And again, the other question
Sorry,
goes,
can I interrupt you? We don't have time, so we'll have to go to Mike. You want to go next? We'll take 3 questions and then we'll come to the panels.
It's not so much a question, it's a response to what Chivano from Malawi was saying. IATI is it's a community, and in that sense, it's also an ecosystem. So not all of the platforms or all the tools are developed exclusively by the Secretariat as such. And I think that's actually a good thing, because it's all about data use and getting more people to use it, improve the quality, do different perspectives on how IATI can be used, like the land portal is a very good example of that. So I would, well, of course, it's also my business, but I would not be in favor of having it, say, channel everything only through IATI Secretariat, because the essence is we're all in this community because we want to work with open data. So, and that should be an open environment where different perspectives on how to use the data can be presented. But I do agree that sometimes you might lose the path in the forest, because there's quite a lot available. But please, diversity is good.
Thank you so much. Last question.
Thank you so much, Kinga Thomas from Cameroon. A quick question goes especially to Nigeria, but any other person can answer. In the use of the DAD, I understand that from the different presentations, there is a weakness that is all realized from the use of DAD. And then we tend to use the IATI data. My question is, at what point do we stop using what is not really functional? Is it, are you guys using it side by side each other, or at one moment so that you minimize cost and expenditure also on the system, on the platform, so that at a particular point in time, it becomes not unused, and you will rely essentially on the data, on the system like the IATI data that gives us full information. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, at the moment,
should we start with the first question? Was that for? Yeah, sorry.
Thank you very much. On the area of the aid predictability, the first thing to note is that it is a forward-looking data, so therefore has to be a commitment, and it's from the IATI country development finance data. Thank you.
Henry?
okay, on the DAD, what I would let you know is that when the DAD was designed, the global community was implementing the MDGs, and in 2015 we transited to the SDGs, and the DAD was not upgraded. In fact, it has not been upgraded, and so donor interventions now speak more to the SDGs rather than the MDGs. So sometimes it's a challenge for the donors who are reporting in the DAD. However, what we doing is that since we are using IATI and the data as official sources of data, we download both data sets and send to the donors in country for them to harmonize. And then we now have, after harmonization, we now organize a validation workshop where we all meet together and validate the data, and before we can now officially prepare the development cooperation report.
Thank you, Henry. Shaka, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, on our side, of course, just like what Henry said, the service provider, which is Synergy, has actually wanted to upgrade the system to the IDM 8 because we are using the old version, which is the IDM 6. And the advantage we had is like you are able to input or to add certain features when you do the administrative module of the data. So when we moved from the MDGs to the STG, we were able to put every information of the features that we need as a country. We were able to input into the data because we have access to the administrative module. But since the upgrade, certain features of the data is not working. Therefore, we have focal persons trained in the various resident donor partners. We do engage with them. We ask them to input the information in that same old system we are using. So this information they input in that system is this information that we download, analyze them, then we send it for the send it to those donor partners again for them to validate. Then for the non-resident donor partners, since the data does not have any provision for the input of these non-resident donor partners, what do we do? The Ministry of Finance is having a multilateral project department, which is the MPD. They have access to all of these multilateral, to all of these non-resident donor partners. We extract the data from the IATI for these non-resident donor partners. What do we do? We send it to that department in the Ministry of Finance. They validate those information and they now send it to us, which is what we use in order to produce. So we combine in terms of the official aid flow, we use this data. One, we use the resident donor partners from the DAD, and we use the non-resident donors from the IATI portal, which gives us the total of our total aid flow for that year.
Thank you, Shaka. Ceci.
Yes, I just wanted to also address the question on the portals, and I agree with the comment of Mike, but I also want to add that I think that one of the added values that AIDA can bring is that we allow for all the IATI related activities to be conducted within a single portal. So you can publish, you can validate, and you can use the data within the same environment, which is